Justice League continues to dabble inside the sixth dimension, and Superman, well, makes a decision that he might regret. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Preview Picks. This is the show every Monday where we're going to be going over the books that are coming out on Wednesday, give you an idea what they're all about, and whether there's something you should talk about with your shop. To begin, we're going to talk about independent titles, and the first one I want to give a shout out to is Low by Rick Remender, and issue number 22 is going to be continuing on with a storyline. The thing about the independent titles from Remender, as well as his collaborators, is that they take a little bit of time in order to get out to publish and press, because, well, he's working on a lot of books at any given time, and with the success of Deadly Class on Sci-Fi and a number of other things, it seems like, well, he's writing in batches, producing in batches, which is totally fine. It gives us the opportunity to stay up on all the different stories and see where things are going. The next book that I want to talk about from Image is Oblivion Song number 15, written by Robert Kirkman, and overall this continues a story of an individual who is out there hunting for his family. He's actually found them, and a number of different things have happened. The real kicker is that this is taking place inside a world where, well, an alternate universe has kind of taken possession over a city, and it's not, well, the healthiest place to be. But overall, it's been a really fun kind of ride. It doesn't necessarily have the flair that I think The Walking Dead really had when it first came out, but Kirkman overall is a very good storyteller. Another very good storyteller is Jeff Lemire, and with the combination of him and Andrea Sorrentino, Gibeon Falls has been one of my favorite titles coming out of Image, and overall the continuation moving forward into issue number 13, and the breach of all these different universes, different timelines, and everything associated with the Black Barn has been a real revelation for this second series, this later part of the arc, and overall it just brings me a lot of joy to read that because it's such an odd and unique story, and it seems like it's one that Lemire has been waiting a long time to tell, and overall he's investing quite a bit, and the art from Sorrentino is always top-notch. One that I constantly recommend for people looking for independent titles. As we make our way over into mainstream books, we've got American Carnage, written by Brian Edward Hill, which hits issue number 7, and it's dealing with, well, the infiltration into a white supremacist group, and I believe that's really the heart of the story. I haven't had the chance to read it, but I hear continuously good things critically about the book, and overall, if somebody's going to be invested in this kind of source material, it's definitely going to be Mr. Hill. So if you're into these kind of Vertigo titles, it's one that you should definitely be keeping your eye on. However, another title that you're going to be keeping your eye on is going to be Aquaman number 48, which continues Kelly Sue DeConnick's run, and, well, I haven't really been keeping up with Aquaman. Aquaman just didn't necessarily tickle my fancy, and overall, when the changeover to the new creative team really hit, I was just like, hey, this could be a good time to jump on, but I didn't, because, well, Aquaman isn't necessarily my thing. I'd really love to hear down in the comments what you guys are thinking about Aquaman as it's transitioned over to Kelly Sue DeConnick, to see where this run's going and what's really the emphasis of the story, so that way, if I really want to, I can dive back into it and maybe do something for you guys. Also, we should be talking about Teen Titans number 30, which is the aftermath of the Terminus Agenda, which was another Deathstroke Teen Titans crossover written by, well, it was mostly Christopher Priest, but Adam Glass is doing this kind of retrospective and kind of moving the Teen Titans forward into their new storylines, which should be relatively interesting. I didn't necessarily follow along with it, but for Teen Titans fans, as well as Deathstroke fans, typically these crossovers are a good time, or they present some sort of issues that the characters need to move past. Either way, it's one that I was paying attention to. However, it's something I'm going to be picking up in trade unless it's something that you guys really are interested in. Making our way over to Marvel, we have Uncanny XMen number 18, written by Matthew Rosenberg, which continues to be a really interesting push towards these mutants. While the Age of X-Man storyline continues to move on, and there are a number of different kind of parts of those individual miniseries that are coming out this week as well, I'm just not going to touch base on them because, well, Age of X-Man doesn't really interest me nearly as much as Uncanny X-Men does. But issue number 18, as well as things that are moving forward, seem to be telling a really interesting story as far as the X-Men are concerned, and I've always looked to see whether they're going to get the kind of respect or the kind of attention that they deserve, and it seems like Rosenberg has the same kind of idea. So I'm excited to see where Uncanny X-Men continues to go, and 18 should just be another good step in the right direction. However, a book that I'm concerned with any step in any direction is Superman, and Superman number 11 comes out, and it teases this kind of decision that needs to be made that is going to change the way that he interacts with the rest of the DC universe, and overall, I just kind of yawn at this entire idea because I'm not really a fan of Brian Michael Bendis' run on Superman, and Superman number 11 isn't really going to do anything to change my opinion on that. And if you want to go back to a Superman that I really appreciate, which might not necessarily be a fan favorite for everybody, you can always get the Superman hardcover deluxe edition, which is coming out this week from Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, which was the Rebirth storyline. It's the latter part of the Rebirth storyline, so it might not necessarily have the strongest issues, but there are some real gems in there. So if you're a fan of Superman and you want something a little bit more like what we got in Rebirth, you're going to have to pick up Rebirth. So there's a link down in the description if it's something that you want to pick up. Also, Tom King is continuing The Fall of the Fallen inside Batman number 71, which is the aftermath of the nightmares that is moving forward into his confrontation with, it seems like, his father and a number of other people before we get into the whole City of Bane arc, which starts in Batman number 75, which is the crescendo of Tom King's run on Batman. And there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of different moving parts. There's a lot of things that are going on in the background. And while a lot of people have fallen off Tom King's run, it definitely doesn't show in the sales. And as we kind of get into this City of Bane storyline, bringing us back to one of the best parts of the early run, I'm excited to see where it's going to go and how it's going to conclude, as well as what he's going to do for all those cat-bat shippers out there that are looking for the final relationship to end in a wedding band. So maybe Batman puts a ring on it, maybe he doesn't, but overall, it's going to be a ride that I'm paying attention to. Also from Tom King and Mitch Gerads, you should be checking out the Mr. Miracle hardcover, which has got a really cool kind of cover that goes along with it. There's a lot of story that's in this book, and you're not going to get it in individual trades. The hardcover is really the way to pick it up so you can read the story in its entirety all at once. For those of us like myself that picked it up as individual issues, I can only assume that it's going to read better as a collected trade because you get the payoff a lot sooner, and you can kind of, well, let's say dwell on the complexities of individual parts of the story, but that's a completely different story altogether. Overall, I am strongly recommending picking up Mr. Miracle just because it's an interesting take on a comic book character, and I'm always down for those things. Then over at Marvel, the Hunted storyline continues in Amazing Spider-Man number 21, and it looks like Kraven, original Kraven, not clone Kraven, is going to finally join into the hunt and come toe-to-toe with Spider-Man. We've seen conflicts with the Lizard, we've seen stories about the Vulture, the Gibbon, Black Cat, and a number of other different characters that have taken the center stage, and finally we get to see, this great hunter versus his prey, and hopefully is going to be able to pay off. That is one of my big keys on this. The Hunted might have gotten a little long-winded in terms of its storyline. It's been expanded and it's looked at different perspectives that aren't necessarily the main character's point of view, which might have rubbed some people the wrong way, but I think Spencer is really invested in the character as well as the storytelling regarding Spider-Man, so that's what keeps me reading from issue to issue. Hopefully you guys feel the same way. Another one that keeps me reading issue to issue is Guardians of the Galaxy number 5, written by Donny Cates, and overall, I just really like the composition of these various teams. You've got your kill squads, you've got the way that you're interacting with like Gamora and the way that she's being treated after the Infinity Wars saga, and then just based on everybody that's joined up with Peter Quill and how everything's moving in that direction, there's a lot of different stuff, and it's reshaping that entire kind of Marvel cosmic club that we see based around the Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's just what Donny Cates seems to do. He goes into something, shakes a little bit of stuff up, writes it a little bit more extreme, and then ultimately makes it a touch more interesting and a bit more vibrant. And I'm down. I'm there. It's what I'm really interested in. Another book that I'm really interested in, though, is also from Marvel, and that is Daredevil number 5, written by Chip Zdarsky, with art by Marco Cacchetto. And this is just a really good storyline for Daredevil. I mean, if you're a Daredevil fan and you're invested in the character of Matt Murdock and what it means to be kind of like aligned with his character and his morality and how he interacts with other members of the Marvel Universe, it's a really interesting storyline, and I think Zdarsky's really onto something. And another book that he's really onto something is Spider-Man Life Story, which hits issue number 3, telling Spider-Man's life story in real time. So he ages, his wife ages, their kids age, Reed Richards ages, everybody ages up. And then the introduction of new heroes, which is going to happen over the course of the next few issues, the way that it moves through these various decades, interacting with real points in time while maintaining the events of Marvel continuity, is really interesting. And I think that, well, hopefully it's an eye-opener for where other different characters can kind of go in this. Instead of doing the whole Old Man Quill, Old Man Hawkeye, Old Man Logan storyline, why don't we see these characters actually move in, well, not necessarily real time, but actually age and then create an evolution, a pathway, so that way the mantle of Spider-Man is what moves on, not necessarily Peter Parker continues to be the same character. But that's a controversial kind of perspective. A lot of people like Peter Parker, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can talk about that a little bit more. Also from Marvel, we get Immortal Hulk number 17, which continues to be one of the best books that's coming out of Marvel. And when we saw the last issue, we've got Joe Fixit, who's inside this shadow base. And while he doesn't necessarily have the strength, he's got the smarts and the vindictiveness that Bruce Banner seems to be lacking to take on this situation while he's being hunted throughout this base. Hopefully, it's going to be just as good as we've expected out of Immortal Hulk, which, again, has been one of the best books out of Marvel, well, since it started being published, almost a year and a half ago at this point in time. I'm really excited to see where this one goes, and hopefully you guys are too. Also, we get War of the Realms, which gets issue number 4, and one of the big things about War of the Realms is that it's continuing to be this giant spectacle book, but it's also resolving plot lines for individual offshoot issues. So if you are interested in the offshoots, you don't necessarily need to have to read the offshoots to get a lot of the conclusions, which is kind of odd. But I stand by the fact that if you're really looking to be part of the War of the Realms storyline, the main book is all you really need, other than Avengers as well as Thor. Those are really the 3 key points, and then you can throw in a few others. But overall, if you're really interested in the series, start at the middle and then work your way out with what interests you as far as storylines. That's just the best way to digest something this large across the entirety of the Marvel Universe. Then back over at DC, we get Justice League number 24, and after we saw the entire storyline with Lex Luthor, how everything kind of played out, and how everything's moving forward, the Justice League is still stuck in the 6th dimension, which is causing some serious concerns back home. And while they're trying to fight through these various things, we've got Superman, who's going to make his way back. We've got the portrayals of Lois Lane and the various other characters, and then the World Forger behind a lot of this. So Justice League number 24 is going to continue to tell the storyline, especially since Batman kind of betrayed everybody and we get to see what his actual play is. At least, hopefully we do inside this issue. Justice League number 24 has easily become a must-read book for DC as Justice League, the series as a whole. It's one that I'm continuing to read and one that you should be continuing to read as well. Now that we're done with recurring books, we can talk about brand new number 1s, where we get War of the Realms, Strike Force, War Avengers, which teams up a lot of the military might inside the Marvel Universe. Characters like, Weapon H, Carol Danvers, Sif, a lot of other different people like Black Widow, they all get to go, well, ham on all these people, trying to take the fight to the various invaders inside New York City and various other places around the world. War Avengers is an interesting concept, and hopefully Dennis Hopeless can really kick this off and make it something that you really want to read, but, well, I'm just a little bit hesitant when it comes to any of these kinds of tie-ins. The other tie-in that you're going to be talking about is Spider-Man and the League of the Realms, which is getting issue number 1 as well. And this one is dealing with the League of the Realms, which was a pretty big player in the early part of Jason Aaron's Thor run, and they're going to be playing a big part in the actual War of the Realms storyline, at least in this particular offshoot series, which is, of course, 3 issues. I'm a Spider-Man fan, so I'm going to have to at least take a look at it on the stands, but again, your mileage may vary, so you don't necessarily have to pick this one up, unless you're a Spider-Man fan as well. But I want to know what you guys think. Is there anything else that I need to pick up and read this Wednesday? So hit me up in the comments down below, and we can start that conversation. But as always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, and more.